So I'm not sure if anyone has heard about this, but Lilly Singh is back. She's back with another season of her late night talk show, A Little Late with Lilly Singh, and it kind of feels like I'm the only person who knows about this. Seriously, if you heard about any of this before, let me know in the comments. If you haven't, just let me know what your favorite type of ice cream is. I remember when the first season came out, there were swarms upon swarms of different videos made about it, critiquing every single episode, every unnecessary little dance move that Lilly does after a bad punchline, but now it's just like nothing. Absolute radio silence. It was a successful secret mission. They managed to release this season without anyone noticing. Anyone but me. So a little recap, Lilly Singh, big YouTuber, towards the end of 2019 got to host her very own late night talk show, right along all the big boys, and well, it was bad. It was kind of awful for a lot of different reasons. The core one being, this is a comedy show, supposedly hosted by a comedian, and it was just not funny. It was uncomfortably unfunny. Trying to watch any of this just feels off.
When you work in customer service and someone calls to complain their package didn't arrive, okay, consumer.
It's like all the jokes are aimed for tiny little babies in a show that airs in the middle of the night, at 1:30 a.m. I don't know who thought that combo would make any sort of sense. I think producers were maybe hopeful Lilly would bring some of her 15 million subscriber audience with her to the show, but that's kind of stupid, because these kids that watch Lilly's videos are already asleep for a while at this sort of time. They need to wake up for school the next day, and well, what kind of parent is gonna let their kids stay up until 1:30 a.m. to watch Lilly Singh play a game of Bye or Bye-Bye with Mark Cuban? And to cover up for the bad jokes, NBC hired what is probably the world's most enthusiastic live audience ever. A crowd of about 20 people who would just scream, shout, and cackle at the simple sound of Lilly Singh even thinking about telling a joke.
I remember the first time I came out to my friends as a vegetarian.
And really, in my opinion, which is an opinion I think some might agree with, this whole thing, from the get-go, just kind of seemed like a weird thing to do. Lilly Singh is a YouTuber who makes sketches for kids. She has no experience in either interviewing people or doing stand-up, so it's not that surprising that her interviews feel really unnatural and weird, and that they had to rely on all these silly little games to play, like Bye or Bye-Bye, to sort of try to make them work. And it's also not that surprising that her trying to do the same kind of stand-up opening monologue as all these experienced comedians will just kind of turn out to be a horrible mess. It's almost as if the producers try to make her fit into this pre-existing box of what a talk show host is or what a talk show host is supposed to be, instead of shaping the show around the person it's named after, which, in my opinion, is kind of dumb. Personally, if you ask me, I think that getting a YouTuber to host a late night talk show is a bit of a weird decision in the first place, but if you've already made that decision, maybe it's a good idea to just acknowledge that. Try to play into Lilly's strengths instead of pretending she's another one of your standard retired SNL comedians. I mean, I'm not really the biggest Lilly singer myself. I've made videos about that very fact, but I still think there's a reason to why she managed to get to her level of success, and that's not really something NBC should have ignored. Now, back when all these videos were made about the first season of A Little Late with Lilly Singh, a lot of people were suggesting, assuming, guessing that maybe Lilly would not get to have a second season of her show air on television. That maybe, because of the overall reception of the show and the ratings it got, they would end up deciding to say goodbye to it, to call it a day. But as luck would have it, a global pandemic has struck the world, and that's probably the worst way I could have phrased that. And because of that, doing a talk show is probably a lot cheaper than usual. Almost as cheap as subscribing to the Pinely channel, which you should do right now. I'm currently at 0 subs, aiming to reach 1 by the end of the year, and I think you can make a pretty big difference if you just click that thing. In these current days that we live in, talk shows don't really look like this anymore. They look a bit more like this. It's a bit more cozy and, well, homemade. And because of that, would it really hurt doing another season of this show, giving it another shot? Maybe. If I'm honest, I don't really know anything about how much filming this kind of thing would cost, but it sort of seems like it would cost less, right? I mean, you don't really need to get this big fancy studio, you just need a house, really. Also, this kind of plays in favor for Lilly. She's a goddamn YouTuber, for Christ's sake. While all these guys aren't really used to doing these kind of in-home productions, Lilly Singh has been doing this thing for over a decade. She has more experience in this field than the vast majority of people, just in general. She can write a whole book about this thing, which she already has. So obviously, I think we can all agree that at the very least, we can all expect that this new, in-home, self-isolated season of A Little Late with Lilly Singh will be, at the very least, a bit better than the last one, right? I mean, that was just a pretty low bar just in general. Well, actually, it is. It's better by a lot. I just said it in that kind of tone to throw you off. Sorry about that. Now, it's still, in my opinion, not that great. Maybe it's because I'm not a big talk show guy in general. Sometimes Jimmy Kimmel makes me want to rip my head off when I watch him talk, or maybe it's because of the reasons I'm gonna state in a bit. But for now, let's focus on the positives. First of all, this season, for obvious reasons, doesn't have a live audience. And you know what? Thank God. I don't need to listen to this crowd of maniacs laugh like that anymore. I think that these live audiences, or just laugh tracks in general, are used a lot as this kind of trick to cover up for shitty jokes. It doesn't matter if your joke is garbage, because there's a very, very clear indication that we're all supposed to laugh right now.
Boxed mac and cheese is way better than the real thing. I don't know what it is. I just enjoy ingredients that sound like a scientist is talking to me. Really? Like the more...
You know, I think it's safe to say that no real human being would react to that kind of joke in that kind of way. But now that the show can't really rely on that, I feel like the writers are trying a little bit harder. It's almost as if they're actually giving a shit. I mean, you're not gonna see me falling to the ground in laughter after one of Lilly's jokes anytime soon, but you know, I'm not really rolling my eyes at them either. They're pretty alright for the most part. Another change that happened, and you know what? Thank God that change was made. Thank the Lord, is that they finally got rid of that stupid opening monologue she used to do at the beginning of the episode. They took these opening monologues and they shot them up to space where no one can hear them or see them. I think part of the reason they got rid of them is probably because without an audience it just feels weird and silly, and also because it's very, very obvious that they just didn't work. Instead, I think they have what is called a rant room, which is a room made for Lilly to be in and rant about whatever topic has been bothering her lately. It really feels a lot more natural than these stupid monologues. It's just a lot more closer to the YouTube format that Lily's used to. So I really hope she decides to stick to it in the future, if they actually go for another season. Also, something that I find to be kind of funny is that these rant room segments are pretty much commentary videos. She might have talked a lot of smack about commentary channels on her Twitter in the past, but hey, guess what, Lilly? Now, a commentary channel has their very own late night talk show. So, who's laughing now? Really, just in general, when you go over clips from Lily's show, you'd notice that they've mixed in a lot more skits that you'd normally find on her YouTube channel. Again, it's a very big improvement for last season, but I'm still not really a big fan of it. This one, cleaning out Donald Trump's office, is kind of, lame. Watching that video, you can easily fill up a lazy Donald Trump jokes bingo in like 1 second. Donald Trump's hair is a wig. Check. Donald Trump likes Russia. Check. Doing that thing with his lips and the hands. Check. Now I know what you boxers may be wondering at the moment. Hey, what about the interviews, Pinely? How are they? Are they good? Bad? Did they improve from last season in any way, shape, or form? Answer me right now. Wow, yeah, you really heated up about the subject, huh? Well, to answer your question, they're bad. It just still feels like something she's not really comfortable doing. I mean, a lot of these other hosts come from a live television background, and I guess it's just a lot more natural, for some of them at least, to think on their feet. But with Lilly, her interviews feel very, very formulaic. It's like as if before the interview, there's a very, very set plan on how the interview is gonna go, and she just won't steer away from that. The questions she wrote in advance are the questions she's reading, no matter what. A good example of that is the interview she did with comedian Craig Robinson. At the beginning of it, he tells a really funny story about how he used to do comedy stand-up shows in front of people in their cars, and how if the jokes were bad, people would just drive away. Funny stuff. And then Lilly asks him this question.
That was a whole another level of hurt. And so
Did
yeah,
that
my
actually
comedy
happen though?
Which is such a weird thing to ask during an interview. Also, the way it works in these kind of interviews is that the interviewee would tell the people who work on the show in advance what story or fun fact about themselves they're gonna talk about. So, let's make it clear that she already knows this is a real story, and I guess she's asking this to make the conversation seem a bit more natural, which, in my opinion, does the opposite job. And then instead of letting this good story be told to its full effect, Lilly starts asking him questions about him being a comedian who does deadpan humor, and if he ever breaks or whatever. And she keeps going back to that subject, and you're just here thinking to yourself, man, what the hell is Lilly Singh's obsession about asking questions about Craig Robinson and deadpan humor? How much is there even for him to say about this subject? And then you just realize that it's all just a setup for a stupid game.
So I would love to do a deadpan off with you in hopes of learning. So here's what I'd like to do. I'd like for you to stare into my soul, and I want to do the same things, and I want to exchange some dad jokes in the hopes of making you crack, and you can try to make me crack.
Why? This is so stupid. I hate these dumb games. What is anyone ever gonna get out of this? Man, it would have been a lot more interesting and funnier if you could have just kept on talking instead of whatever the hell this is.
Hey, Craig. I don't trust stares. They're always up to something.
This is ridiculous. Craig Robinson is a really funny guy, so funny that he gets paid for it. And now, you're essentially forcing him into telling these shit jokes that you found on the internet instead of the good ones from his brain. This is pretty lame if you ask me. I know, being a good interviewer is not something that anyone can do. I'd even say that with the way some people do it, it could be considered an art form. I mean, have you ever seen an old Dick Cavett interview? That right there is art. The conversations they were having flowed in such a seamless and natural way, and yet he always knew really well how to get straight to the really interesting part of it all. It's perfect. When it comes to the way Lilly does interviews, it's probably the opposite. Everything feels really unnatural, and when an interesting topic comes up, it's just cut off in the sake of playing a stupid pre-planned game. Man, I need some freshly squeezed orange juice after this. Now though, it's time for the next part of this video. I made a pretty cool title card for that one, so I hope you're ready. 3, 2, 1... Finally, why the hell have you made a title card with the name of the new Vice President of the United States on it? What is the correlation between Vice President Kamala Harris and talk show host Lilly Singh? I wonder that myself. In the past 2 weeks on the YouTube channel for A Little Late with Lilly Singh, there were 5 different videos posted on it that were essentially praising, on the verge of worshipping Kamala Harris. 4 of them were released this week alone. Other than that, she also posted a whole music video on her personal channel doing the exact same thing, which is weird. Kamala Harris is Lilly Singh's cousin, a video that shows that Kamala is this perfect goddess that can do no wrong. Kamala Harris takes over A Little Late with Lilly Singh. Kamala Harris on the cover of Vogue. Lilly's recipe for a Kamalifornia dreaming cocktail. Kamala Harris is black and Indian. Period. Now, I can't deny how important it is for a lot of people that a woman of color has been elected to be the Vice President of the United States. It's an incredible feat, and I get why Lilly and so many others are so excited about this. I really, really do. But personally, if you ask me, I think that putting politicians on that high of a pedestal is just a very dangerous thing to do. Politicians are people that are elected by the public to do a certain job, a very, very important one, and because of that, they should always, no matter what side you voted for, be looked at under a very critiquing eye. We need to see if they're actually doing the things they got elected to do. When we decide to turn a blind eye and look at these politicians as these perfect gods that can do no wrong, that's essentially like saying, hey, you know what, you sexy son of a gun, I'm just gonna turn around and close my eyes for like the next, I don't know, 4 years, and you just do whatever your little heart desires. It sets a dangerous precedent, and also, again, just weird. To show you what I mean, let's watch a bit of that music video I talked about. Kamala Harris's first song as vice president. I'll just warn you in advance, this is going to be horrible.
I'm gonna be almighty press, Republicans beware. Well, I've never seen a president who didn't have a pair. I'm gonna break that glass ceiling in 4 years, you just wait. I'm speaking up and hunting them down, I'm perfecting my debate. Thus far, a rather disrespectful thing. Oh, I just can't wait to be king.
I hate this with every cardboard bone in my body. I think this video took 5 years away from my life. Imagine if a British person, actually no, not a British person because Lilly Singh is Canadian, not American. Imagine if a person from France made a video where they dressed up as Prime Minister Boris Johnson and sang a song about how cool and great and hip Boris Johnson is to the tune of, I don't know, Roar by Katy Perry. I think that regardless of whatever your political alignment is, you'd be able to say, hey, what the hell is this weirdo French person doing? It's alright. Jimmy Kimmel posted on his Twitter the other day a video of Abraham Lincoln and Martin Luther King doing Fortnite dances, so I think we can all agree that nowadays the bar to what is considered a decent late-night talk show is set pretty low. Honestly though, it's a lot better than last season. We're moving in the right direction, that's what's important. And I think it's great that Lilly and her team actually saw what didn't work with the last season and try to fix those things. I hope that the producers of this show realize that this is where Lily's strengths lie. She is a YouTuber, and doing this sort of more in-home style of content, instead of putting her in the exact same kind of format as every other late-night talk show host, is in my opinion what they should keep on doing in the future. Also, if they manage to find an interview setting that will make Lilly a bit more comfortable, I think that could improve the show a lot. And that's really all I have to say on this subject. Other than that, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called Pinely. I make daily unboxing videos, so please check that out. If you reach the end of this video, make sure you include the word sophisticated in your comment to confuse everyone else. They'll be like, hey, what is this word doing here and here and here? And other than that, I hope you have a good day. You deserve it. Goodbye.